Hello and welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I'm Meher Sher and these are the headlines. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says India is trying to spread instability in the Balochistan province. Addressing a ceremony in South Waziristan district of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Khan said New Delhi is also trying to instigate youth in Waziristan. U.S. President Donald Trump has bid farewell on his final day in the office, telling his supporters the movement he started was only just beginning. In a video message from the White House, Trump hailed the achievements of his America First policy. Trump will leave office today but will not attend the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden. The U.S. has imposed sanctions on a Russian ship involved in the construction of Nordstream 2 gas pipeline. In a statement, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the U.S. is not afraid to hold accountable those who aid and abet Russian coercion. Nordstream 2 is a new export gas pipeline running from Russia to Europe across the Baltic Sea. The U.S. coronavirus death toll has topped 400,000, while its caseload has reached over 24.2 million. President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris paid tribute to Americans who lost their lives during the pandemic. Pakistan has registered over 1,700 new cases and 48 fatalities overnight, taking the death toll to over 11,100. The global tally of coronavirus infections has crossed 96 million, with over 2 million deaths. And in football, Bayer Leverkusen beat Borussia Dortmund 2-1 to move into second place in the German Bundesliga. Moussa Diaby drove Leverkusen, scoring 1 goal and setting up the winner for Florian Wirtz. Well, those were the headlines. More news in detail after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. And now for the news in more detail. We begin in Pakistan. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says India is trying to spread instability in the Balochistan province. He was addressing a ceremony in South Waziristan district of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The Prime Minister said Pakistan knows Indian efforts to spread chaos in Balochistan. He said New Delhi is also trying to instigate youth in Waziristan. Khan announced that 3G and 4G internet services will become operational in Waziristan starting today. The Prime Minister said the government is fully committed towards working for the welfare of the people in Waziristan. The Premier will also inaugurate a hospital laced with modern facilities at Mullah Khan Sarai and distribute funds among the deserving families. And moving on, in India, farmer leaders and the government are set to meet today for a 10th time to negotiate the controversial farm laws. Thousands of farmers continue to protest after the previous 9 rounds failed to end the deadlock. The farmers' leadership says they will not settle anything less than a scrapping of the laws. Meanwhile, a Supreme Court panel over farm laws met for the first time. It said the committee will hold meetings with farmers' bodies who are against the laws. Over the past 54 days of protests, more than 80 farmers have lost their lives during the protest against the contentious laws. Now, Indian entertainment industry is once again on the ropes after Hindu nationalists filed criminal complaints against Tandav, a series streamed on Amazon. Led by a politician of the ruling right-wing BJP, the complainants insist that the series be forced off-air or heavily censored. Tandav is a political drama that highlights the turmoil created by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Hindu nationalist government. It shows the mass demonstrations by farmers, protests against police brutality, and laws that discriminate against Muslims, among others. But the complainants accuse the series of disrespecting Hindu gods, criticizing India's age-old caste system, and defiling the Prime Minister. Amazon and the show's promoters could face the criminal court if the police agree with the Hindu nationalists. This adds to the list of incidents that show the increasing intolerance under the Modi government. 2 months ago, Hindu nationalists campaigned to boycott Netflix after one of its series depicted a Hindu woman in a relationship with a Muslim man. Now, dozens of protesters are demonstrating in front of the Indian High Commission in Islamabad against 11 Pakistani Hindus killed in India. The protest, organized by Pakistan Hindu Panchayat, said the Indian government has still not handed over the bodies of their relatives that died in Jodhpur. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi is also present at the protest site to demand the retrieval of the bodies. On the 9th of August, 11 Pakistani Hindus were killed by Hindutva extremists in a village of district Jodhpur in India's northern Rajasthan state. For more on this, we are being joined by our correspondent, Minahil Ahmed. Minahil, thank you so much for joining us. Minahil, why is the Hindu community protesting, and what are their demands?
Yes, Meher, I am outside the Indian High Commission right now as we speak, and the family of the deceased, along with the president of the Pakistan Hindu Council, Dr. Ramesh Vankwani, have arrived over here at the Indian High Commission to meet the Indian ambassador and demand for the ashes of the family of the deceased. This is a ritual that has been performed by Hindu families over the years, in which they believe that the souls of the departed do not rest in peace till their ashes are not scattered in water. So they are over here and they're demanding for the ashes of the family of the deceased.
Minahil, so far, how are the Indian authorities reacting to this? Are they going to fulfill these demands?
Meher, it's been almost 6 months when the family was murdered in India. And till now, there has been absolute complete silence from the Indian government. Our foreign ministry has contacted the Indian government. They have repeatedly asked the Indian government to release the necessary information. We have also approached the UN Human Rights Commission and have asked them to investigate into the matter. And we have also requested the Indian government to allow a free and fair investigation into the matter. But so far, there has been absolute no response from the Indian government, and there has been complete silence.
Thank you, Minahil Ahmed, for joining us. And now, moving on, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi says Islamabad seeks to enhance bilateral ties with the United States. He said the two sides have conformity of views about Afghanistan, COVID-19 pandemic, and the climate change issue. In a statement, the minister said U.S. President-elect Joe Biden has a clear perspective about the South Asian region. Referring to India, he said it is welcoming that the new U.S. administration has a clear stance about the protection of human rights. Qureshi said the world is pointing out gross human rights violations in the Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. He expressed hope the new U.S. administration will put an end to the Indian oppression against the unarmed Kashmiris. U.S. President Donald Trump has bid farewell on his final day in the office, telling his supporters the movement he started was only just beginning. In a video message from the White House, Trump hailed the achievements of his America First policy. This report has more.
From a surprise victory in 2016, unending controversies, trade wars, and the Capitol Hill attack, 4 turbulent years of the Trump presidency come to an end today. The outgoing president leaves the Oval Office with 2 impeachments and a nation on the edge. In his final message, Trump extended best wishes to the incoming administration, saying he wanted them to have good luck.
As I conclude my term as the 45th President of the United States, I stand before you truly proud of what we have achieved together. We did what we came here to do, and so much more. This week, we inaugurate a new administration and pray for its success in keeping America safe and prosperous. We extend our best wishes, and we also want them to have luck, a very important word.
Trump will leave the office today, but will not attend the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden. Meanwhile, the incoming president made an emotional farewell in Delaware before hitting the road to Washington.
And here we are today, my family and I, about to return to Washington to meet a black woman of South Asian descent, to be sworn in as President and Vice President of the United States. As I told Bo on that station waiting for Barack and Hunter and Ashley, I said, don't tell me things can't change. They can, and they do. That's America.
Over in Washington, D.C., the Pentagon has removed a dozen U.S. National Guard members from duty ahead of Biden's inauguration. Officials say 2 of them were removed as they made extremist remarks about the ceremony.
The U.S. coronavirus death toll has crossed 400,000, while its caseload has reached over 24.2 million. The global tally of coronavirus infections has crossed 96 million, with over 2.05 million deaths. More on the pandemic in this report.
Silence and the tolling bells of the National Cathedral in the U.S. add to the grim and somber mood as the country worst hit by the pandemic marks another grim milestone. The Empire State Building lit up, flashing red to signify a beating heart to honor the 400,000 Americans who have died from COVID-19. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi held candles and stood silently on the steps of the U.S. Capitol. At the Lincoln Memorial, President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris urged for national unity to heal from the trauma.
To heal, we must remember. It's hard sometimes to remember, but that's how we heal. It's important to do that as a nation. That's why we're here today. Between sundown and dusk, let us shine the lights in the darkness along the sacred pool of reflection. Remember all whom we lost.
Brazilian military has flown in medics and vaccines deep into the remote Amazon rainforest to inoculate indigenous people. In Europe, Spain has widened its vaccination campaign, deploying a mobile vaccination trailer that goes from village to village, delivering shots to the elderly. German Chancellor Angela Merkel says the new South African variant of the virus has been spreading faster in children than the previous strains. Meanwhile, the country has once again extended its lockdown to rein in the outbreak.
There are serious indications that new variant of coronavirus is spreading more among children and adolescents than the previous variant, and we have to take these indications seriously. That is why we refer once again to the resolution taken on December 13th, 2020, and we have to extend it to February 14th, 2021, and we must insist on a stricter implementation of this resolution. We agreed after a long discussion that schools will remain closed.
In Asia, another of Japan's southernmost prefecture, Okinawa, declared a state of emergency as the country grapples with a surge in infections. China's capital, Beijing, is stepping up restrictive measures after reporting the biggest daily jump in new COVID-19 cases in more than 3 weeks. Meanwhile, India has appealed to frontline workers not to refuse vaccines after it failed to meet targets in the first few days of what New Delhi calls the world's biggest immunization campaign.
Whereas Pakistan has recorded another 48 deaths from COVID-19 overnight, raising the toll to 11,103. Health officials reported 1,772 new infections since yesterday. Number of cases has risen to over 524,000, while over 478,000 have recovered. Currently, there are more than 35,000 active COVID-19 cases in the country. The southern Sindh province has reported the most cases, with over 237,000 testing positive so far, while 150,000 cases have been detected in the central Punjab province. Moving on, the U.S. has imposed sanctions on a Russian ship involved in the construction of Nordstream 2 gas pipeline. In a statement, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Washington is not afraid to hold accountable those who aid and abet Russian coercion. He added the U.S. would consider further actions in the near term. The Treasury Department imposed the curbs on the ship and its owner under the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. Earlier, talking to the media, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov termed the U.S. pressure unlawful. Peskov said the Kremlin was closely watching developments to ensure the pipeline's completion. Nord Stream 2 is a new export gas pipeline running from Russia to Europe across the Baltic Sea. The United Nations has blamed the U.S. sanctions for the delay in Iran's payment of its mandatory contribution to the world body. Iran and 8 other countries have not paid their dues to the UN budget, which has threatened their voting rights. In an interview, a spokesperson for UN Secretary General said the money transfer problems caused by U.S. curbs are causing issues. But Stefan Dujarric said Iran is making efforts to resolve the issue. He said the UN has the duty of announcing to the General Assembly the list of countries that have not paid the specified amount. Earlier, Iran said it is discussing the introduction of a new secure transaction channel with the UN Treasury due to the blocking of U.S. funding channels. And Libya's rival parties have agreed on a mechanism to appoint temporary executive authority in the country. In a statement, UN mission to Libya said 73% members of the forum voted in favor of the mechanism. The mission said it is finalizing the nomination procedure and forms as well as a timeline for the voting process. It said a committee of the LPDF will verify the submissions to ensure full transparency. Meanwhile, acting UN envoy to Libya, Stephanie Williams, said Libyans have now a genuine opportunity to select a government to reunify their institutions. The European Union's mission to Libya also welcomed the development. Bilateral ties between Pakistan and Afghanistan have started seeing positive trajectory in the last few months. Together, both the states have achieved significant progress in not only visa and trade policies, but matters pertaining to Afghan refugees as well. More in this report.
Being neighbors, Pakistan and Afghanistan share historic ties based on their common culture and religion. Their relations have also seen many ups and downs over the last 73 years, given the restive border stretching 1,510 miles. Now, taking the lead in strengthening the bilateral relations, Pakistan's foreign missions across Afghanistan have started ensuring the implementation of liberal visa, trade and refugees policy for Afghan nationals. A visiting Afghan journalist endorsed and lauded the measures being taken by the Pakistan government for Afghans.
Pakistan's embassy in Afghanistan has increased its resources and employees to facilitate the migration process of Afghan nationals. Earlier, Afghans' national visa to Pakistan had only 6 months duration and it would expire really soon. However, now the visas are granted for 1 year at least. Moreover, the Torkham crossing point at Pak-Afghan border also got affected previously, due to which people shut down their businesses in the vicinity.
Anisur Rahman said the Afghan government has failed to maintain real-time data of refugees that were once repatriated to their parent country. This, he said, forced them to return to Pakistan, where they are now residing illegally.
Currently, 3 kinds of Afghanis are living in Pakistan. One is the registered citizens. Second is the unregistered citizens, but they have never been to Afghanistan. However, they are not registered with NADRA's database. The last type of the people is one who went to Afghanistan but came back due to security and economic conditions there. But the people who have come back also includes criminals, which affects the status of all Afghan refugees in Pakistan.
Prime Minister's Special Assistant on Social Protection and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Sania Nishtar, said Pakistan has been an exemplary host for the Afghan nationals.
We have decades-long history of accommodating and having an open door policies towards refugees. In recent years, you've seen that many countries of the world have specific policies on where refugees can move, where they can't move, what their entitlements are, whether they can integrate in the economy, what services they can access. But Pakistan was hugely generous.
Parliamentarians from both sides also expressed satisfaction over the recent positive developments and hoped the bilateral cooperation will lead to regional prosperity. Sumaira Khan, Indus News, Islamabad.
Now, 8 people died when an over-speeding bus turned turtle in Pakistan's southwestern Balochistan province. Officials say 22 other passengers were injured in the accident. The vehicle was on its way from Panjgur to Karachi when it overturned near Bela town of Las Bela district. Police said 2 military personnel, 3 women and 2 children were among those dead. Medics say the death toll could rise as several of the injured are in a critical condition. On to business. The foreign direct investment in Chinese mainland is in actual use has hit a record high of almost 1,000 billion yuan. China's Ministry of Commerce says the FDI expanded 6.2% year-on-year in 2020. In the U.S. dollar term, the inflow went up 4.5% on year-on-year to $144.37 billion. The service sector was up nearly 14% and accounted for over 77.5% of the total foreign investment. The Netherlands saw its investment in China grow more than 47.5%, while Britain's grew 30.7%. The ASEAN countries on the whole also recorded a rise of 0.7% in their investment. And now it's time to take a look at the latest weather updates from around the world. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.